Let me guess. The orphans need a new roof.
Well, probably, but I'm more of a let the orphans fight each other for sport kind of guy, libertarian, so.
Based on the title, the 5th episode of Fargo's 5th season sounds like it'll have a narrow focus on the character that Old Munch described as, for real, a tiger. The voiceover does, in the style of a nature show, with narration brought to you by Jason Schwartzman, who played Josto Fada in Season 4. Dot spends most of the episode illustrating how hard it is to cage a tiger, but her mother-in-law, Mrs. Lorraine Roy, kinda steals the show. The episode opens with her thinking about what to do with Dorothy. She lands on having her committed to a mental ward. And while Dot puts up a fight after waking up to this news, the orderlies are able to get her strapped down and transport her to the Walter Mondale Care Center. They don't linger on her motivation, but based on what Danish says about power of attorney, it makes sense that Lorraine would try to take control while Wayne is incapacitated. Dot plays nice long enough to get set for her escape, where she uses a nostril takedown that leaves the orderly strapped to the gurney she was rolled in on, and then knocks out a nurse so that she can take her scrubs. This reinforces what we already know. She's resourceful and will do just about anything to escape, and she makes it look easy. Lorraine does the same when she takes a meeting with 2 bankers who were hoping to meet with her attorney. The fact that she's a woman doesn't appear to sit well, so she turns things up to 11 by saying, "Let me guess, the last time you negotiated with a woman was over the price of a Tijuana blowjob." If nothing else, this is the most entertaining way to establish her dominance. And what stands out as she's listing off the reasons why they're very lucky she wants to buy their bank in the first place, their bank they absolutely need to sell, is that she didn't even need to destroy them like this. The other thing that stands out here will be important in her next meeting. While she's verbally slapping them around, things hit their peak when one of them accidentally lets a condescending lady slip, and Lorraine seizes the opportunity to cut $10 million from her offer. I'm sure there's a part of Lorraine that's offended about this, and of course these men shouldn't overlook her because of her gender. But a little bit later she'll describe debtors as animals and herself as the zookeeper. This is what makes the character compelling, and after this episode, I don't think there's any question about how the performance is landing. Lorraine is awful, and she doesn't like to be told what to do, which is why her conversation with Roy is so rich. Under different circumstances, these two might get along or at least work together. When I watched the promo trailer for this episode, I thought they might make common cause. Although under these circumstances, she makes it crystal clear why they do not. Sure, Roy's misogyny is turbocharged compared to the bankers, but it's his reliance on biblical law, the Constitution, and general North Dakotaness that seem to be the sticking points rather than his libertarianism or views on women. And in case you weren't picking up on it, she makes it plain in her refutation of his theory of freedom, saying, "Son, there's only one person on earth that gets that deal. A baby. You're fighting for your right to be a baby." It's a reminder that when you get 2 awful people in a room, one of them can still be right. And the smirk she delivers it with is a prime example of why you hire Jennifer Jason Leigh to be on your show when you can. Interestingly, she starts that with the word son, which is similar to the word lady from her previous meeting. It was a blunder for banker number 2, but here it's surgical. And Roy keeps the theme running when he uses it while addressing Danish. It's a nice little trick to showcase who the top dog is right now. And on his way out, Roy decides to change to plan B and go after her son. It is a little surprising that she doesn't take Roy up on his offer of disappearing Dot. After watching her work in this episode, her inability to railroad Dot in episode 2 takes on new meaning. She is a problem for her, but as has already been mentioned, Lorraine doesn't like to be told what to do. Plus, her son does love Dot, that is a part of it, but she doesn't have any concerns about railroading him. There is a point to be made about where each of these characters chooses to exert their power, or in Dot's case, powers. Roy makes the tactical decision to contact Gator and have him send the crew of North Dakota guys to get Wayne. Their presence interrupts Dot's escape because she has to protect her man. This is where it really comes out that while it might be fun to watch her operate, all of what she does is related to survival and protecting what she cares about. While Lorraine and Roy are essentially throwing around their weight, Dot appeared to be fine with just being an ordinary housewife before there was a threat. She's clearly a badass when she needs to be, but it's not how she chooses to be. On this day, she doesn't get to make the choice though, and we watch as she subdues the 6 feet of intestines guy from the last episode, and then switches the names of the rooms so it looks like he's Wayne. Then she's reunited with her husband, who signals he hasn't fully recovered from being electrocuted yet when he says he was just in the bathroom and poop came out when she tries to hide him. Their brief time together turns out to be a high point in the middle of this because of its sweetness. Unfortunately, there's no time for it. Even though her plan is working, she runs into agents Joaquin and Meyer in the hall and has to stop. Gator sees her but can't intervene, and she slips out the window in the bathroom. Indira has the misfortune of being on the receiving end of Lorraine's final big conversation of the episode. She pays a visit about the escape and gets a lecture about debt from the zookeeper, which I alluded to earlier. It's slimy and really drives home why Lorraine might want to be seen as a lender rather than the repo man. Again, this isn't terribly necessary, but more of a way to showcase her leverage because at the end of the day, she only wants the police to do their job and find Dot. She keeps things Coen Brothers adjacent by dropping the line, "Or are you gonna sit here drinking coffee in the one house in the state where I know that girl ain't at?" It stood out as different from everything else she said in the episode, and that's because it's a line from Raising Arizona, when Nathan Sr. is talking about his missing boy to the police. What's funny here is that Dot is currently sneaking onto the property so that she can reunite with Scotty. She's happy to see her mom, and after she tells her that she saw Sheriff Roy, they take off. Where do you go when everyone is looking for you? Dot picks the one person in the bunch who has a nice face, kind in the eyes, and as unexpected as it is, it does make sense given her desperation. This is where we get into the real substance of the tiger's story. Dot has a big ask. She wants to leave Scotty with Indira, and the price to pay is to tell her the truth about what's going on. She explains that it was her first husband that came for her, the one before Wayne. The one that took her in when she was 15 and that she got married to when she was 17. When encouraged to continue, she says they never hit you when it's going their way, you know. It's when they're weak and just pretending to be strong. When they need something small to climb on to feel big. As moving as the story is, the reasons against helping are significant. Dot is a fugitive and Scotty is a missing person presumed to be kidnapped, while Indira is a cop who's supposed to be looking for them. It's fitting that Lorraine's words finally work against her when her worthless husband, Mr. Olmsted, comes in complaining about his golf clubs. In his talking about fixing his slice and increasing their debt again, he becomes useful. Indira takes that as a reason to help and introduces the lady in the kitchen as her friend from the potlucks and tells him her actual kid, who's watching The Little Mermaid in the other room, is going to be staying with them. You believe he might not ever put two and two together, that they're hiding a child that will likely be plastered on the news. And the episode ends with Dot walking out and getting into a car with a closing shot of the Wayne Lion Motors license plate frame pulling away. So another escape marks the end of another good episode. Lions and Tigers, or Lions versus Tigers, I guess. Lorraine may have dominated most of this one as she does, but it ends on a really strong Dot note, and there was a lot to like in the presentation and the enjoyability of the commitment and the subsequent getting away. I liked the choice to cut quickly through each of those steps since it reinforced things we already knew about the character. It made it feel lighter and more on the fun side compared to the darkness in the previous episode. The princesses are dumb comment from Scotty coupled with Old Munch's talk of Kings last episode adds to my suspicion about Roy being her father. And there was no Munch and no Wit this episode, which makes me hope that a Munch heavy episode is on the way. Noah Hawley had said in an article that Roy and his first wife took Nadine in, so it was nice to hear her bring it up. This adds to the mystery of what happened to his first wife, and of course how after living with him for 2 years as a teenager led to her becoming his second. Also, the abuse was implied, but here it becomes explicit, and it's hard to miss how what she said lines up with where things are at. Roy may not let on, but he does appear to be rather weak right now. Credit where credit's due. Since I spent so much time talking about Jennifer Jason Leigh, Juno Temple did a remarkable job with everything they gave her to work with this week. The embrace with Wayne in his room was perfect all the way around, and the way she shifts gears throughout really elevates the character in a series that's full of great ones. The conversation with Indira has such a wild setup, and she really brings it home when it counts. I'm looking forward to see where things go next, and I think that's a great place to leave things. Please like this video if you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and thanks for watching. I'll talk to you soon.